Welcome to Identity Unboxed, where we provide mentorship and promote representation for Black professionals and the advancement of the Black community.
We are seeking guidance from exceptional Black leaders, scholars, and professionals with expertise in their respective fields.
We hope to foster a space that promotes authenticity, inclusivity, and restoration for our listeners while exploring the intersection of our personal and professional lives.
This project is a culmination of our lived experiences as young Black professionals to transform our life trajectories, to overcome adversity, and reach triumph.
Our intention is to inspire you on your path to discovering your purpose.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into our episode of Identity Unboxed today, a mosaic of musical moments, history of jazz. We are here today with the one and only Gary Hammon. He is a jazz musician and an educator and a local legend here in Seattle. He's traveled the globe and he has a phenomenal career in jazz music. And so we're super grateful to have you today, Gary, on our Black History Month series, Legacy Lens.
Well, thank you very much. And I don't mean to correct you, but I'm a renowned artist. My career I started here, but I left here. I stayed gone for many years with many great people. So when people address me, I have to let them know, no, my career started away from home. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just so they know, no, I wasn't here. I did like the rest of them that people know about that got to be more prominent in terms of their names being spotlighted. But I was in that with them. So,
Oh, for
it's
certain.
fine.
Well, you are definitely global. When I said you were a legend here in Seattle, I know it goes beyond, but you're just very loved in our community. And, I know everyone in Seattle holds you very special here. So, yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, and I know that. I didn't
Yeah.
take, I just, when I hear it, I have to, for various purposes, I do that.
Hmm.
Not because of what you said, but there's when we talk about career and showing certain respect in terms of being a working artist,
Hmm.
I have to make sure that they understand that no, when you're dealing with me, there's something else that I bring to the table.
Yeah, that's so important. And I do appreciate you adding that because for our listeners that are aspiring longtime musicians and they would love to reach some of the heights that you have, it's great that you share that experience. So,
And
Absolutely.
if you get an opportunity, you need to interview a guy named Booker T. Williams.
Okay, Booker
great.
T. Williams.
I'll
Yeah,
take their name down.
I will give you his number.
Okay.
Brad. He left with me. We both were at the University of Washington.
Oh, that's
He
awesome.
finished there, and I went east and finished. So,
Oh, that's awesome. We are definitely, please give us his contact because we're always
I
looking for new
will right
people.
after the show because we actually left together, more or less.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
so cool. Awesome.
Awesome. We'll get into our first question at the very beginning. So, you were born and raised in Seattle, and you attended Garfield High School, where you dove into an undiscovered passion for jazz when you picked up a saxophone. And we were wondering if you could share about your early days of identifying your path to becoming a professional musician and how you found your footing in the precarious field of the performing arts.
Well, what happened was that's funny you know about that. I always had this hidden shyness about music because my parents were not musicians. They were connoisseurs of art. May it be classical, may it be anything. They were both that way. They were also very strong politically in this community. And, I have to really give them heavy props because if you didn't have a place to stay and you needed to get yourself together, you could stay at our house. So it was that way all the way across the globe because the musicians would come and stay there, musicians that I've worked with, and it was just an open house. And the other part of it was you have the Esquire, the Royal Esquire, and you have some of these other venues. Well, my father and other few good men were founders. So a lot of the meetings would be at my house. And it would talk about where people of color, the red lining, where you could live. So I guess to sum it up, it was just a matter of a question of time when I would come out about who I really was. So as a child, I heard the saxophone. And when my parents would have these parties, I was supposed to be asleep, but I'd be up. And I was drawn to the saxophone, and the person that uh kind of rung out to me was Gene Ammons, which I didn't know it was Gene Ammons at the time. But I also like violin too. But me, practical being back during that time, boys, my parents had a lot of boys. I couldn't let them know that that's something I liked, you know. So I never shared that with them too much. But I finally, at the age of 16 or 17, didn't play in the jazz band at school. I decided to take up the saxophone. And when I did that, I stopped playing sports. I stopped doing the things that I was doing because I kind of had a little bit of that in me, especially the boxing. And I could have probably went a long ways with that. But I decided I wanted to play music. It's like I heard it. I heard this voice, this musical voice calling me. So I picked the saxophone up. Now, having said that, I was actually the lowest person on the totem pole. It was very difficult because I had no formal training until I ran into this guy who really helped me out. I was in a band, in one of my first bands or second band, and his name was Jordan Rui. And he realized that I had these great ears and I had no idea what I was playing. And he helped me learn my scales. So that was the door that opened for me that allowed me to be able to just kind of tune in on my craft. So after that, um, it wasn't long before I started working with the renowned artist Dave Lewis. And I was still a young man. I wasn't 21. And Dave had a club called Dave's Fifth Avenue. And he had a hit single called Little Green Thing, which was on either A&R or R&A Records at the time. So I was in that band, and it was there that my life changed because to work with him, you had to know standard tunes and you had to be able to play what we call then top 40. Well, I stumbled when it came to the standard tunes because he was playing Duke Ellington, you know, and who was the other person? Uh, Carlos Jobim. And I had no idea. I had heard it, in my home, but I had no idea about how do you approach that. So the guitarist who's no longer with us was Junior Heath. I went to his home and we practiced. because David said to me, he said, "Listen, you got to learn these songs because these are when we don't have a comedian, I open with these songs, Satin Doll, um, Jordu, and Bluesette. And sometimes it would be different. So you got to learn to be able to play these songs. They're standards." And I had no idea. So I learned those songs, and I started really realizing that to do this and to do this well, you have to work at it. So it became clear to me that it was time to put in the time. And that's what I did. So when I left Dave, I ended up with Albert King and Albert Collins. Well, with Albert Collins, they're blues musicians. You can find their records. With Albert Collins, I have to admit that he was a little different from Albert King in terms of he wanted me just to play blues, and there was nothing else. You know, that was his world, and you had to be in his world. So I can remember were we in we were either in San Francisco or New York. I don't remember now. It's been so many years ago. But we were doing one of the festivals. That's when you had big festivals, rock festivals outside. And I was boarding on the bus. And all of a sudden I saw Carlos Santana, and he had this saxophone player with him who I became good friends with and I'm on recordings with, named Hadley Kellerman, and a trumpet player. I can't remember the trumpet player's name, but it's you can find the record with Hadley and this trumpet player and Carlos Santana. That was one of his first albums, and it's a live album. Well, anyway, Hadley took a solo, and that was the first time I had really heard the difference other than on records, somebody playing blues that was different. So Albert was behind me, and I wanted to hear the saxophone player. So I was holding up the line because they were trying to get us on the bus to get going. And then when Albert pushed me, I got to hear him. I said, "I want to play like that. I want to play blues like that." And Albert said, "He's not playing blues. I play blues." And so I begged to differ. I said, "No, that's blues," like that. So lo and behold, by saying that, I got my 2-week notice. So he fired me. Yeah, he fired me.
Wow,
It's subtle, but he
yeah.
fired me, and I was okay with it.
Mhm.
And then Albert King picked me up. Well, the difference between Albert King and him was the fact that Albert King had me playing with him, and we were going through rural areas of the South, and there's still a lot of prejudice. So when people talk to me, they don't realize that we still had to come through the back door in the kitchen, eat in the kitchen, and go out the back if we were in somewhere like Montgomery, Alabama or somewhere.
That's
Oh, yeah.
devastating to know, especially with you bringing that entertainment and such, profound talent to those audiences, and they still treated you,
Oh,
as
yeah.
inferior just because of how you look.
Our bus driver was white, and he would say to you right away, "If you go around the other side, I can't guarantee I can help you." That's the way that story went. So you knew where you were. Um, but the beautiful thing about Albert King, Albert looked at me one night. We were playing and we had just finished. And he looked and he said, "You're not into this, are you?" And I said, "Well," he said, "No, just be truthful." He said, "I'm not going to fire you. I just need to know." I said, "No, I really don't want to do this." He said, "Okay, well, what do you wanna do?" I said, "I think I wanna study, and I just have this burning desire. I want more." He said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He said, "Why don't you stay for a while, and then when you find what you want, you leave." And that's what I did. And him and my mother have become very tight. My mother used to have an autographed picture, but when the house got sold, somehow all those pictures got thrown away. I kind of hate that. They were put in the dumpster. But every time he'd come to town, Jazz Alley, he'd always ask my mother about me, or she'd go and see him. And he said, I just knew that guy had something different going on with him. And she'd tell him, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, you know. So it was kind of, that's kind of what happened to me when I started moving on. I myself and Booker, we both had the same idea about music and the love for it that it's endless and take it to another higher form. And I'm still studying today, you know, and I still feel the same way. The only thing I see missing now is that we got to bring back the spiritual. There's so much academic and intellectual that it amazes me. All the people that I knew that were very articulate and academic, they also had their own voice. I don't hear that anymore. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I don't hear it. I don't feel that you need to be outside of yourself, but I also feel that you need to know directly who you are and find out who you are and present that persona. You have to do that because living in this society, it's about trend setting and it's about all the other things, but about traditional and foundation. Although they advertise that, but they do it in quite a different way. So,
Yeah.
to make a long story short, that's where I ended. So, I ended up entering the New England Conservatory. I mean, I've kind of gotten ahead of myself with that because I won a scholarship. Well, we'll go back a little bit. Winning that scholarship, I had no idea how big that was back then. Um, my mother's friend and my father's friend, Mr. Woods, who was a baritone or either a tenor opera singer, invited me to his home for a cookout. And I can remember him and I were in the backyard. He looked at me and he said, "Son, do you know what you've done?" I said, "No, what do you mean? What do I do?" He said, "I won the scholarship." He said, "No." He said, "You didn't only win." He said, "You're a Negro. You're going to one of the greatest schools rated third in the nation. Did you know that?" I said, "No. I had no idea what I had gotten myself into." Then it all clicked. I said, "Oh, okay." But he was the one that told me. He was so proud of me. He said, "I tried to get at that school." So he said, "Hey, being a person of color it's hard to get in there." And it was. It really was. Because that whole experience with the ones that are the recipients of that now don't understand that the fight and the battles that I fought for them and coming home, they don't recognize that, hey, not only was this for people of color, as well as for anyone, it was a real fight because the music was considered as an illegitimate art form. Now, that's so profound to have something that's American not not European, created on American soil. But, you know, to use that definition, that was pretty bold. But we proved that to be wrong. You call us illegitimate, so we proved ourselves. But it wasn't easy because they had us down the trash rooms first, where it smelled, incinerator rooms. And at that time, Carl Atkins was our director, and Jackie Byard and Jackie McLean. These are all great musicians, and the late great Kenny Dorham, who everybody plays his song Blue Bossa. He was my mentor. Well, Gunther Schuller was the president, and he brought us all there. He was the reason why I got the opportunity. And Gunther would always tell us, listen, you can get a degree here and you can stay here, but it's up to you to make this art form become a curriculum where it can be credited, where people can get a degree in jazz. So around 1973 or 4, maybe 6, we proved that we were not only credible, and Isaac Stern and Arthur Fiedler at that time had the Boston Pops, gave the nod. And Isaac Stern is a great violinist. And Jordan Hall at that time was packed. It's like you were going to see James Brown or somebody. They couldn't even load Jordan Hall up. But we knew we had it that night. So our position changed from the basement incinerator room up to the 3rd floor. So we had arrived, and we were greeted and treated differently. But during that experience, we were not welcomed. So it's funny how times have changed now. So you all are really fortunate because, hey, you still got the fight is still there. You got to fight all the time. Always be aware of your adversaries. You got to do that. But the future can look brighter because I can see now that there are some things going in the right direction. I just like to see more situations where I'm having conversations like this about what we need to always think about, that we have a strong voice.
Mhm.
We have done some powerful things, whether it be music, art, mathematics, literature. We've done it. And we still are fighting to be recognized. See? So, what we have to do as people, especially you all as young people, get the little ones or the ones that are coming into the world that are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Start teaching them. The elders spent time with me. That's why I'm the way I am. One of the things that Dizzy Gillespie said to me, you're never bigger than the music. The music is first with me. So when I look around today, we're living in a time where there's a zillion commercials. Everything is built around sports or around trend setting. Now, I don't have a problem with that. But where is where can I say, okay, where is our foundation? Everything comes from somewhere, and history repeats itself. So when you do something and you think you've already done it, it's been done before. Those are the words of Cannonball Adderley, Julian Cannonball Adderley, to me, the great alto player. It's already been done. It might have a different name and it might have a slightly different twist, but it's been done. So that's what you have to look at. Now, having said that, what you need to do is you need to network with people that are like minded, like yourselves. Because remember, the people that present to you in this industry are telling you this is all there is. So it's up to you to start thinking outside the box. See, I've always been an odd person because I think outside of the box. I don't do the same things that everyone else does. I don't go the same way. I don't walk the same way. You might see me and then you might not see me at all for a while. So it just depends, you know. But those are the things that I've learned from walking with such great masters and being around Max Roach and around great musicians that could take me under their wings and just, you know, make sure that I'm getting a clear understanding of what this means and that I have a responsibility. So those are the things that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, I love how you speak to the importance of those who supported you. I know you mentioned Dave Lewis, Junior Heath, Albert King, and I was wondering if you could speak more to the importance of having mentors and guides, especially in the arts and as you're trying something you love and just figuring out what you want to do, because I know that was very fundamental in for your foundation.
Well, that experience with John Patton, Grant Green was an eye opener because I was a young kid and I'm playing with master musicians. If you don't know who they are, you can Google them in. They have a bunch of records, and there's a lot of great records to listen to. In fact, Streets of Dreams by Grant Green is a great one to start with if you want to be introduced to jazz. And and the other one is I Got a Good Thing Going On by John Patton. That's a good one because what they did, their chemistry of jazz and blues, R&B and blues is in all those records. So when they started working on me, of course, you know, I was young, and being young, you don't know a lot of things, and then you've got these great ideas and a little ego with it that when I do this, I'm going to do this way, or I've got this involved. And they look at you and say, really? That's the kind of stuff they do because it's already been done. See, and they were just beautiful mentors. Now, did they sit up and teach me? No. It's the things they left with me and they'd say to me about what I was doing. And if I wasn't doing something right, like I'll give you a prime example. Like one time I was playing way too much for what the job required. And so John's sitting on the organ and you could hear him in his microphone saying, you can run, but you can't hide to me. And so, I was so I was so angry about that, you know, but I understood. We didn't have a conversation about that. I had overstepped my boundaries. It did not require me to do that. So it taught me to be humble. It taught me that this music that you present is about you being able to present something to your audience. Now, if they accept it and if you do it well and you can do what you do and they accept it, then you're doing something. But remember, you never play music for you. You play it for your audience. The uniqueness is if you can do something with it and your audience is receptive, then you got it. But you have to remember that. So I think today that's lost because putting it in the institutions, they made it like basketball or football and some of these other sports. Music is not sports. And here's why it's not. It's because it's in the soul of the beholder. So you may like something that I don't like. I can't say that's wrong. I can just say that I don't like it. So there's a genre for everyone. So I think that's left out now because we have this capitalistic society that works to keep trend setting and to keep certain forms in place and no art. What they call art is not art, you know, because when you hear true art, you get the kind of expression and you start thinking, makes you think. So, and you realize that I missed this. Why isn't this accessible? Because it's tied up into something that's called art. And it is a form of art anytime that you can do what you do. But the spiritual innuendos are not there. The spiritual is what you want, you know. And the marketing techniques keeps it where it's only densed and you get so much and you have so many minutes or so many seconds to do it. That's the difference.
Gary, this is absolutely fascinating. And I just first off want to thank you so much for sharing your plethora of knowledge and also speaking to the importance of connecting back to our ancestors because you really emphasize that music is more than just the trends or what's popular now. Like you said, it's actually getting back to the soul of what's made us who we are and also honoring all that we've endured and that resilience. And I just really am so blown away by what you had to go through during your time at the New England Conservatory and like the tenacity that must have required for you to even find folks to not only build that art form together with at that institution, but also get the people that were in power there to understand that what you did was important and that you had to be masters of the craft and you were students of the art, like you said. And it was much bigger than you. And so I can tell just by how you were so willing to share all of your advice and knowledge to our audience that you really understand the importance of legacy and you're really leaving your own legacy for those behind you.
Well, see, one of the key points that you said, us being there at that school, we had to do things their way.
Yeah.
The whole time I was there, we studied classical music. Jazz was considered as you do that after school.
An elective and not
Yes,
as
because
important.
you
Right.
know, so we had to prove that it was more than just something down in a trash room,
Yeah.
and that's where they had us, and we did. And believe me, I love classical music too
Yeah.
because I came up in a house where I heard all of it, and that so it wasn't no problem. But I was glad to see that the music was allowed to be credited. But the disappointing part of it is there's not enough of us in it. And the ones that are in it now that look like me, their teachers didn't look like us. I had the teachers that looked like us. So when they're coming out of these institutions, that is not the same language that I was taught. It's not the same language. So it's very academic now. And most of the musicians I hear that are great musicians, great technicians, but not spiritual. And they can play. I don't take any of that away. But I think that what they all need to do is start taking a step back in time because it's made them very competitive. And you're not going to reach the heights of a Sonny Rollins, John Coltrane, Eric Dolphy, Arnett Coleman, Monk, Bud Powell, those kind of people. Eric Dolphy. You're just not going to do that. You're not going to do that because they had a special gift and they were given this gift and they worked it and they worked at it all the time. But the musicians like Miles that took it other areas and allowed Train to develop his craft realized that this allowed him to go in a different avenue and to get different perspectives. So that part of it, I do recognize is with all the playing. And believe me, again, let me reiterate, there are some amazing technicians, but that's not the soul of the music. And you have to remember that when we talk about adopting music and going back to slavery, especially going back to slavery, our voices were so strong as people that the slave owners loved to hear us singing spirituals and hymns, and they could work all day and do that.
Mm.
And then when it finally came to instruments, we were already playing. The violin was in our family. Blues, bluegrass, you name all of it. We were already doing those things. We were the ones that were able to do that and to do them very well. And there's always discrepancies about that. But that's pure truth, what I'm telling you. There's people to look up. There's a book called, it used to be called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro Man. I think it's just 100 Amazing Facts. You read in that book, because when I went to NEC, I found out that I came there and Beethoven is descendants of African descent. And I said that, and they pulled me down
Wow.
into the office and said that I'm making trouble.
Because you were speaking truth.
Yeah,
That's what happens when we use our voices
yeah.
in those institutions. Yep.
But that book was given to me by Joe Brazil, who's also at your university,
Okay,
who
I'll have to look
also,
them
if you
up.
look, he was in a big debate with the music department in either the 70s or the 60s. I was gone by then. 70s, I think that was. He had a waiting list for his history of music class that was at least 2 or 3 years out. Now, he won the big debate, and it was a classical debate. He knew more classical composers and great classical people than that whole department knew. But the key was the students didn't get behind him. That's the only reason why he didn't get tenure. But it's there. It's on record, right there, right there at the university. Then you had Byron Pope that was there. You had Walter Zubik Armstrong, all three of them. They came there because when I was there, Bob Cummings had a workshop and he tried to keep Booker T. Williams, the person I'm going to give you the number, and I out. But he couldn't because we were too strong. and we were the only ones of color in that band coming to that lab. So Larry Gossett and E.J. Brisker and Eddie Rye, just to name a few, they brought in Joe. They brought in some of those other people I'm talking about. Yeah, to change the tone of that. So when I trace back and I come back to now, it's still the same thing I see.
It's the same
When I look
fight
at the
that you've been
bands
fighting. Yep.
that are winning these competitions, these high school bands,
Mhm.
there's very few numbers with us in it.
Yeah. And
I've got to help change that before I'm out of here. I've got to do something about that because that's very disturbing.
yeah, it is. And I was just going to say, Gary, what you're speaking to, I think, is the importance of representation and also being able to carve out space for our stories told by us, not told by those that don't look like us. And so, I think like what that point that you're making is that we need to be in these institutions and we need to be the ones teaching those that can relate to our stories and truly have the connection to it because we can't relate to another culture's music because that's not embedded within us. It hasn't gotten us through all that we've been through and the turmoil over the last few centuries. And so, yeah, and I just loved what you talked about how some of these institutions will validate those that engage in our art form, but it's not us, right? And it made me think of the movie Sinners. I don't know if you've seen that, Gary, but
Oh, yeah,
there,
I did.
yeah, it's so
I
good, and
saw
I
that.
think I also think that that movie did such an amazing job of encapsulating all of the variety within the diaspora and showing the influence of all the different musical sounds, that really cool, vibrant music scene that they had. I just found that to be so, illuminating and captivating. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that movie too, if you're interested.
Well, I thought it was a great movie, but now I'm going to give you guys two movies, two
Okay,
documentaries to watch.
There we
great.
go.
One is the guy that brought me to the jazz scene, Rahsaan Roland Kirk. It's called The Case of the Three-Sided Dream. The other one is a mentor of mine who helped me along when I'd have troubled times, Jackie McLean. Jackie McLean on Mars, or Jackie McLean, or no, correction, Gail Noble interviews Jackie McLean. So you got two on Jackie McLean, but the case of the three-sided dream is going to be very important because Rahsaan didn't let anything, he had a handicap. He let nothing bother him. And I learned so much from him. And he was not easy on me either. So when you see all this, you'll realize these are the stories that are hidden that nobody's seeing.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely wrote down those recommendations, so we will be checking them out.
We'll be watching them. Yep.
Oh yeah. I love how you've really spotlighted the difference between, the present and the past, how there's a lot of focus on trend setting now, how things are very academic and intellectual, but we've lost touch of that spiritual side a little bit and the importance of us kind of tapping back into the past so that we can learn and really regain that sense of spirituality and community. And I think I recently saw a video of the late great Prince, and he was talking about how music is going to be a lost art because everything's going to be electronic one day. And he was saying this way back
Right.
then, how technology is advancing and we're going to lose the art. And with AI advancing, I know so much is changing. And so I was wondering if you could speak to those changes and how we can get people to actually play music and go back to that and not lose that art form.
Well, one of the things that you've just said is very clear. It's already lost because convenience has allowed people to just go to the convenience or have allowed people to, and again, like I said, I have nothing against the DJ because the DJ has a place. But again, convenience. They will hire a DJ to do something that I once did, send them all over the world. And these people are people with PhDs and things like that. And like I said, I have nothing against that with the DJ, but look at what it's doing to the art. How many of you go down to Royal Hall and see some of the amazing music that comes into town? That's a starter. I'm talking about people of color. You don't. But if somebody's down there that you're popular with, you're gonna flock down there and just be all in there. Because again, we've been, and again, I don't mean any harm. I'm just telling the truth. Again, we've been told, like we've always been told, this is what's going on now. What's the trend? This is what time you get it. This is how much it's going to cost, and this is the night it's going to be. So you have to look at all that. You know, right away, I'm just excited as you are. But again, I talk about think outside of the box. Think about in town, there are people that you could go hear. And there are art exhibits that you could see to start supporting them. Anything that's got to do with community, support it. Uh, Try and network and get more people that are doing these things to be together. See, when Seattle was Seattle growing up, that's what happened. If the Filipinos or the Japanese or the Korean or the Chinese, whatever, if they had something and we had something, everybody would support each other. That was Seattle. I remember. So when I went East Coast, I never really experienced prejudice until I got to Boston. And then I did because I was dating a girl that was not African American, and I lived in Roxbury. So you see what I'm saying? So learning about how beautiful this was here, and we had redlining. There were things that were wrong, but overall, we worked, or my father and other women and men worked together to make a better community. And now it's turned around and it's going the opposite direction, but everybody's saying they're doing it. And there are some that are doing it. So I give them credit for that. But no, it's not. Being able to look at the way it is, no, no. So as you all being people that are not only being uh, interviewers and personnels of that nature, you've got to get people together, collaborate, talk. Artists should be showcasing, whether it's culinary, whether it's visual, whether it's graphic, or whatever. They should be all working together, not just only working with institutions that allow them to separate. You know, work outside of that, and believe me, you'll have a greater appreciation for things that you didn't know that were going on that somebody else may be doing. See, that's the way it was with the music coming from the 60s to the 70s into the 80s. In the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, there was so much music in New York. There were so many different genres that you could be in, and there was so much going on. And you don't hear about that. You don't hear about that at all. They started you from the 80s and on. No. The great creative periods were during those times. because you had so many different genres of music going on. It was all kind of things. It was experimental. I mean, look, you had Jimi Hendrix come out of here.
One of the
So
greats.
many people don't know, but they don't know that
Yep.
the story you all are getting is Guitar Shorty. That's where he got it from.
Mhm.
I work with Shorty.
Wow.
That's where he got it from. His
Yeah.
name is William Kearney,
Okay.
known as Guitar Shorty. He's got records out. The
That's
only
great.
difference is Jimmy took what he had and extended it and took it
Brought it
where?
to the world, expanded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but Shorty turned 4 or 5 flips a night.
Wow.
Yeah. You can read about him. You can get
That's
his
so
records.
cool.
You can look him up.
Yeah.
Guitar Shorty.
I
Yeah.
just love this, Gary, because I think you're talking about like the human connection. We need to get back to human connection and actually
Oh,
get
yeah.
out into these spaces, like you said, instead of just going and supporting, the big artists and the big performers. Like, we need to start going back to these local performing arts theaters and going to people's houses, like you said. Like, your house used to be open to the community. You guys
Oh,
were
yeah.
playing music. Like, that's how you discovered the art form. And so it really sounds like we need to get back to preserving the foundation of what we built the art on, because if we don't do that, we're going to forget how we got here. And
Well,
so,
if
yeah,
I'm
this is so
still
valuable.
here,
Yeah.
and if I can have a platform, it will be done because those are my goals to see that through. And I'm not doing it because I'm trying to make havoc. I'm doing it for the young people,
And they
for
need it.
generations to come.
Yeah.
The ones that are crying out, the ones that are in the street having problems. Where when I walk in the halls of the high school I'm in, Ballard, and I see what's going on, we're failing. You got kids swearing in front of the teachers. They don't do it in my classes, but you hear it and you're looking at the teachers and you're saying to yourself, "Wow,
They've lost respect and manners.
this is
Yeah.
a institution of higher learning.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with any of the other stuff. You can take that outside." And that's the message I tell them. Nope, this is the institution of higher learning. You want to do that? You go outside somewhere where we don't, the rest of us want to learn. We don't want to hear all that because I'm not saying it. And if I'm not saying it, it doesn't have any place in here. So those are the kind of messages I send all the time. And they love that. So we have to get order back into some things. And I'm not going to say that's going to totally happen. And maybe I'm just old school, but it's taken me and gotten me a lot of places, you know. And it's shaped me to be the person I am today. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, that's great. And, I think it's so amazing too that you've now moved into education and you're teaching those students all that you've learned in your, long journey. So I was hoping you'd speak a little bit more to increasing accessibility to music for young musicians. Like you said, it's your goal to bring back what you grew up on. And you recently began crowdfunding to increase accessibility to music for young musicians in the CD, with a space dedicated to offer classes, host live demonstrations, and present lectures that don't just teach notes and scales, but also the culture and history that shaped the music. And so I was wondering if you would like to speak to how the community can support this initiative, and what do you believe is the importance of paying homage to those that paved the way for us? You kind of spoke to that already, but if there's more you want to elaborate on, I'd love to hear it.
Well, one of the things that we can do as a community, we can sit down, the ones that are interested, and talk about fundraising. These young people are going to need instruments. See, all these things that I'm talking about have been taken away, and they're going to need a place. I need a place, a permanent place that they can be taught in, and the instruments are going to be the big thing for them, and for people to realize that, which you all have said, if you if we keep going in the direction we're going, it's going to be just like an endangered species if we don't bring music back and instruments, because that's the importance of it. When I see people that are just doing electronical things, they have no idea of the fundamentals, being able to count, being able to know what beat, being able to know where they are in a measure. They don't know that. Now, not only can you learn to see it as written, you can also learn to feel it from me, because that's the most important part, because I do both. And I've made it a point to keep it that way. Reading music is a guide. Making the music say something, or that piece of sheet music you have, that takes that takes a lot of determination, a lot to do with you understanding interpretation. So those are the things that I'm going to be key in. But having people that are behind me, like yourselves, that want to fundraise so I can do these things. And then we find a place to do it. And I just don't want to stop there. I want it to be culinary. I want it to be anything that has to do with art. Whether they take pictures, I don't care. But we should all be in a building together. Then we can share our thoughts because it's all together. It's not separated. The separation is what I see that's big, because you've got these big companies, that have people that they're paying these mega bucks, and they've got them separated.
And they'd rather go there, and they've
Yeah.
commodified the culture, and it's like an artist that needs, that money to survive is going to go to the big corporation instead of being independent because it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
difficult, and it's like, how do we figure out how to unify, like you said, and get that
Yeah.
connectivity back, and
Because we
yeah,
have to bring it in our neighborhoods.
but yes, build it within us, within our community.
And we train our people so they can be the ones that can have the last say.
Yeah, and reclaim our power back. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
love hearing about what you're sharing is I feel that this would be so liberating, like, you creating this space. I really hope it happens, that you can get the funding and,
Well, I, I
see
need
this
I
come to
need
life.
support.
Yeah,
We're talking
get
now.
the
You
word
need to
out.
tell
Yeah,
people so we can do this. This
yeah,
is about, here's where I am.
yeah.
You're gonna take care of me, but you can do whatever you want to do, because I don't want my name on nothing. You just take care of me while I'm alive. I'm like my grandmother. Don't bring me flowers while I'm dead. You take care of me while I'm alive. Now, you make sure that the message is clear, and I'm gonna make sure that the message is clear that this is about all of us. So it's bigger than me, And if you want to do something like that while I'm alive, fine. But don't do it while I'm dead, because I'm not going to be able to tell you thank you or anything. You know, we won't even have a connection anymore. So that's where I am. And that's what people need to understand. That's very dear to me. And I mean every word of that. No, you make sure you take care of me now. You do you do what's needed to keep this in place. So young people, each generation, we are the only culture, or one of the few cultures, that don't represent and understand the importance of us knowing our background and our historical facts. And we have so many. I mean, we just have tons, you know, but yet we still talk about it but we don't do anything about it. So you have to look at things like they looked in the 60s movement. That was a great movement. You had Martin Luther King, you had Muhammad Ali, you had all these great people, you know. I mean, you just had them. I only named two, but there were several, you know. But I'm just saying that stood and fought. Sammy Davis fought for us. People don't realize that. He wasn't just doing what he did. You got to read about him and know about him. So I'm just saying, we had people that were very passionate and believed and and who they were and their values, their core values were important. So we have to bring that kind of effect back. And we have to also do it in a way where it's not overbearing, where when you speak to people that don't look like you speak calmly. Don't speak with anger. Don't speak with anything other than getting your point across and being able to be calm enough to say it like I'm sitting here saying it to you guys. And that's it. Whether they like it or not, at least they know. And sometimes that effect works because they finally get it, you know, because you leave them with something to think about, not something to find a way to block. They have to think about it and be passionate and be real about what you say and make sure that you hear what they're saying and be thoughtful about being able to convey it back. That's all.
Thank you for sharing that. And it seems like through your career and what you're doing now by speaking to us and helping young folks and teaching, you really understand the importance of, like you said, getting young folks together and teaching them your perspectives and helping guide them forward. And I love how you mentioned civil rights leaders in the 60s and things like that. And I feel like what you're getting at too is we're kind of missing that community. Like I see even with activism these days, we aren't coming together as much in community. A lot of things similar to the music, how we're talking about how it's become electronic. I think organizing is becoming more electronic. Like people think they can like make a post on social media and stuff like that and fight for justice. But I feel like what's starting to become missing is that coming together in community and really organizing and having spaces where we can sit down and be together. And I really love how you emphasize the importance of creating those community spaces because I feel like that's a common theme with, the technology and everything. It's just we're not in community as much as we once were.
As long as you resort to convenience, you are whistling Dixie. You need to be one on one. I spend time with people one on one. I don't do it with a lot of people, but when I sit and I spend time with you, which I don't do that, and I'm giving you my time, then there's something about you that I know that you don't know about yourself. That's why I do that. And maybe I can help in some ways to help you define where you want to go. I know it's tough out here. I mean, being where you all are now and being where I am, I'm happy to say I'm happy to be here because there's just a lot of stuff. Lot of stuff. I mean, I've never had it like this. But the good things about it is I see other things that I wouldn't have never been able to see. So it's got its pros and its cons. But what we're talking about now is we all need to be talking not from convenience, not going to a computer or let's post this. No, we need to sit down We need to talk to each other with respect. We don't need to get violent. We don't need to say that one situation is better than the other. And if it is, let's find out why. And let's see if we can reduce some of that tension and make it out of a conversation, not out of a shouting match or tug of war with each other. That's the difference. That's all.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, Gary, too, what you're speaking to is conversation leads to those deeper connections that you simply just cannot replicate digitally. And so it takes that one on one time. It takes sacrificing some of your own resources and what you want to do in your own personal time to be able to be out there for those and help lift others up. And so I think it's about utilizing the digital platforms we have responsibly so that we can get the word out about this type of mobilization that you're speaking to that we used to see back in the 60s, because maybe you had the phone to call people up, but you still had to go out and actually like talk to your neighbors and meet and say, hey, we're meeting tomorrow at this time in this park and this is where we need to be to figure out what's the next step to advance what we're doing. So I really love that. And then I was just hoping, moving a little bit towards the end of our interview, which I can't believe how fast this is gone, I was hoping you could take yourself back to when you were a young Black boy and share a piece of advice that you would have had for yourself. So if you could kind of go back to that young Black boy that was listening to the jazz music at night and you were a little bit afraid to tell people, hey, this is my passion, what would you have said to your younger self?
Wow.
And
I
take your
guess
time.
I would have said to my younger self that, I wouldn't have never known that I would have reached the heights I've reached, which is still, I got a long ways to go. But having said that, I realized that there was just something from the time I was in that was different about me. My life wasn't easy. It was never easy. I had problems that I had to deal with and struggled, you know, with disabilities, you know. And I'll just go ahead and say it because I never talk about it. But I was dyslexic. So my life was not easy. I got sent to a school because I wrote my name backwards and I I everything was reversals for me. And I got sent to a school where I was taught by missionaries. And I was the only person of color in my class. So so it wasn't easy for me. So I had a lot to deal with. So saying coming to where I am now, who've known this would have happened? But I guess that determined factor in me always was big. I just always fighting, was a fighter, and wanting to not don't give up. Don't give up. So I guess that's always kind of been in me.
It seems like, you always knew who you were from a young age, even in navigating that, even through all the hardships and the struggles, you knew who you were. You knew what you loved, and you always fought to get to where you needed to go, whether that being at the NEC, whether that being your early academic experiences. And so I really loved that. And, being a fighter and being who you are, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that and give some advice to maybe youth who have experienced similar things. Because I know you mentioned you didn't really tell your parents you were into music because you were into boxing, and that may be the big thing. I know when I was younger, I used to really be into singing, and that was kind of something I shied away from because it's like, oh, do wrestling, do sports. And I feel like for a lot of men, whether that's singing, playing instruments, or getting into dance, those things are not seen as like masculine or what we should do. So can you give some advice to young boys who really want to engage in the arts but may be discouraged from doing that?
Well, I'll give advice for both genders. If you believe and if you feel, you move forward. Never let, in the words of Quincy Jones, never let anyone take your dream away. Because if they take your dreams away from you, whose fault is it? It's yours. You never really wanted it anyway. So if you dream that you can be a dancer, you can be a musician that's creditable, you remember that. You do those things. You act on it. And if you have doubters, again, for both genders, you continue to try. Because when I started music, everyone laughed at me. I was laughed at.
And now you can laugh at them.
Oh, well, I don't do that. I
Right,
help.
right. Yes,
I
yes.
help. I understand that my place is to love and to share. When I let you in my world, it's about unconditional love and sharing. And that's all it's about with me. I try not to hold malice. And I can be that way sometimes, but I really work hard. I've worked hard to take responsibility for thoughts and for things that I am. Now, I have a long ways to go too. And there are still things I'm learning, but the beautiful part is I learned that from you all. And I like that because the world is round and it's a rainbow coalition of people, different colors, different different nationalities. It's different now. And within the core group, we all just have to we want the same things. I think we have to remember we need to do like we're talking. Sit down and talk to each other, not talk through a computer. When somebody is talking to me through a computer, I take it as a message. When they get more into it and we're talking serious, no, that only goes so far with me because I have to see you in front of me, eye contact. Then I know it's legit. But if you're just saying it, you can say anything and not look at somebody. That's just like somebody saying something about you and walking away negative, whispering it under their breath. It's the same thing. People don't realize that. I'm like, wow, really? You have to look at those things. You
It
really do.
matters. Yeah, and like you said, I think it's, embodying integrity and how you navigate the world and interact with others. And just through this conversation, which wish we had so much time, so I would love if we could all get together at some point in person and,
Well, we
watch one of
can.
your performances. And yeah, I just love that you really embody that compassion, for the culture, and it just exudes from you. So it's
I'm
beautiful.
supposed to be at the rendezvous Valentine's Day.
Okay,
So
that's great.
they're looking at that. Um,
Nice.
and then from then on, I will start doing stuff with
Okay,
them. Um, so that's one. Or
nice.
just look for the post from Gavin at
Okay,
Audible because I will do that again. These are
nice.
these are things to bring that connection. And
Yeah,
for people when I'm performing, I always give them things like I've given you all, people
right.
to look up.
Resources,
Listen
yeah,
to the
the
music.
names.
Now, one of the things that I'm gonna request there at the rendezvous, when people come to hear music, let hear the music. I understand you're away from your computer, so you have this other avenue where you wanna talk because you're usually on the computers talking or you're texting each other on the phone. But now when you go to hear a show, when they take a break, talk. Listen to the music.
Be
And
present.
believe me, you'll
Yeah,
have more to talk about.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And
No,
don't
you will.
preoccupy your mind with all, being
Yeah.
inundated with the texts and, social media and the emails and things. Like, let's get back to just like being in the moment. Like, put your
Oh, yeah.
phone away and really enjoy it and be
Yeah.
immersed in it.
And believe me, you all are miles ahead of us. But the difference is that we didn't have that. So we had that social interbeing with each other. And that's where the brilliance of some things, and I'm not saying that it's not because like I said, you're way far ahead, but that's where the brilliance of some of the ideas came from because we were able to agree or disagree about things.
Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. I know Tiana appreciates it too. And a little bit on the lighter side, you've just had such an outstanding career from touring with Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Grant Green, and you've met so many fantastic people in your life. And we were wondering if there was one jazz musician that you could have dinner with, past or present, who would that be and why?
Carmen McRae. Carmen McRae was like my mother. Our relationship was rocky at first because Carmen McRae, which I realize now and I are a lot alike. When Carmen has time to herself, she don't want to be bothered. So I understand that. But what I would do is when I was in Boston, I'd always try and go down and get her to talk to me when she play at either the Paul's Mall or the Jazz Workshop. So she wouldn't, she didn't want to see me. So I heard one of the security people one night talking about that Carmen's nephew was going to come down and, the one of the shows. He didn't give specific on what day. So, you know what I did? I played the nephew. So I go and I'm in her dressing room and they put me in her dressing room and she's outside the door. I could hear her down the hall a little bit. They say, "Oh, your nephew's." "Oh, good, my nephew." And she's rushing to come down to her room, her dressing room. She opens the door and she's like, "Oh my God, you, what do you want?" And she said, "How did you get in here?" And then I said, "I want to talk to you." And so she said, "Oh my goodness." And so she said, "Okay." She didn't like it. So she sat down and she started talking to me. Then she found out that I wrote nice tunes and I did all these things. So she became like one of my main people and like my mother to me. And she looked at me one day when she came to town and she had heard something that I wrote. And she said, "You need to write songs, pop music. You'd make a lot of money." Then she looked in my eyes. She said, "You're not going to do that, huh?" And I just kind of looked down. She said, "Oh my God." She said, "Honey, okay, you're going to have a hard life doing this. You hear me? It's not going to be easy." She said, "It's certainly not easy for a woman." She said, "It's going to be hard for you too, coming into this. You sure you know what you're doing?" And she said, You just stuck on it." She said, "Okay." She said, "Well, you got my blessing. I wish you well. I hope you do this." She said, "But I'm telling you now, this is a hard way to go." And I said, "Well, you did it." And she couldn't say anything to that. And that's all. And she was happy about me doing that.
That's so
That's one
amazing.
of the biggest highlights that I remember.
I
Yeah.
love that you're a testament to showing people that you can take that unconventional path and you can still end up creating such a beautiful life for yourself. And that's what you did. You didn't go the shortcut route and go into Hollywood, pop music, and, get into that scene. You decided, you know what, I'm going to continue to be a student of the craft for my whole life. And it's just amazing.
And that's what happened. And
Yeah.
I had a fruitful life.
Yeah.
I lived very well. I
Right.
mean, things worked out for me,
And
really.
you traveled the world. I mean, it's like, that's so
Yeah, both
cool.
of the things,
Yeah.
I went quite a few places. Yeah. And it was just a great, great life.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And yeah, just moving forward, to our last question, I've, truly enjoyed this. Again, I'm so grateful to have spoken to you. But I would love if you'd be able to answer our last question that we ask every single one of our guests. And it's about our connection to the diaspora and how we've been influenced by our identity, our ancestors, our mentors, and just the significance of what it means to be Black. And so, our question for you is, what does Blackness mean to you?
Well, it means that if I look back and I look at my ancestry and I see the people in the cotton fields, I recognize the harmony, the love, the spirituality that they all bared because they never, ever gave up hope. So, with that, hope is probably the biggest thing that we share and we have in common. You just don't give up. They could be happy with each other and they were happy eating things that were not nutritional, but they survived. And they survived because they never gave up hope. So that's what it means to me that we as people of color, we do not give up hope and we stand for who we are, even through any any situation that's going to be traumatizing or going to cause us to feel doubt about ourselves. And just remember, the foundation was already laid and it's there. So that's what it means for me, truly. And that's what I recognize, and that's who I am. And it makes me every day, now that I'm in my later years, realize that, I've never been off track. I've always been on track about what I've always believed in and moving forward in life and remembering that I have a responsibility. Because when I die, I can't take it. I can't take any of the stuff with me. I have to leave it. So that's my responsibility.
I love that. And yeah, I think you encapsulated that perfectly. I don't have anything to add to that other than, hope is our lifeline. Like you said, that's what's tethering us together. And also just remembering all that we've overcome. It's, if we've come from being on the plantation, like you said, being beaten and whipped and oppressed for so long. And it's look at all that we've done, look at all the contributions we've made across the globe. And everyone wants to enjoy our culture, but they don't always respect us. And so I think, like you said, the fight still continues. It's a lot easier for Brad and I, and we do know that. And so that's not lost on me, the importance of that.
Well, and I
And just,
realize
yeah,
that.
respecting what you've done. Like, yeah, you've done so much. And so, yeah, again, I'm grateful
But
and
but
blown
but
away.
what we but like I said, and what
Yeah.
you to understand, have more from my home.
Hmm.
I'm gonna leave you with something else. Reverend McKinney was there, Judge Johnson, all people of great stature were
Hmm.
in my home. I didn't know what was going on. I was too young to understand that.
Hmm.
But they were there for a reason,
Yeah.
to
Right.
help people of color
Hmm.
with the red lining.
Yeah.
So you all can start your own system of
Hmm.
getting different
Yeah.
cultures together and
Hmm.
talking with them, finding the ones that want to have those kind of conversations
Hmm.
and that don't live in denial, that see
Yeah.
things the other way.
Yeah, and thinking outside of the box, which is, we're
Yeah.
identity unboxed, and so you're right in alignment with our values and our
Oh,
mission
yeah.
here is getting
You have to
outside of
think
that.
outside of the
Yeah,
box,
exactly.
and those things. I mean, I just, a guy sent me a text not too long ago. He said, what'd he say to me? He said, "You are always real dapper, but you don't wear Nikes or anything." I laughed, and I said, "You know what? I guess I don't wear
That's
Nike."
so funny.
I say, but I never thought about that.
It wasn't for you, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the ingenuity. It's like Blackness, it's all unique to us, we all embody it differently, there's no one way
yeah.
to be it, and so I love it.
And you
Oh,
could
yeah.
be dapper and not hop on the trendy brands.
Yeah,
You're still
exactly.
dapper. It's not about
You
trend
had a
setting all the
classic look.
time.
Yeah, and that I love because I like to dress when I can.
Yeah,
That's just always been a part of me, part of my
yeah.
life.
Yeah,
It's
it's
funny
the
how
culture.
that was. I mean, one of my closest friends told another friend that I knew here in Seattle. He told him, he said, "I've never seen this man in a pair of jeans." He said, "This is crazy. He's in
Yeah,
Seattle." And that's the first thing he did when he looked at him at me and he looked at him. He
right.
said, "I've never seen him in a pair of jeans."
Yeah.
I said,
It's
"Well, I'm
about the
in Seattle now."
presentation. Yeah.
I told him, I said, "My mother, before she passed, she said, you have to change that look. Well, they don't do that here
Yeah, it's so
anymore."
casual here. That's so funny.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not the way we grew up. See?
No, exactly.
So,
Right,
but she
right.
she just told me right away. She said, "Oh, you're gonna change that. They're not doing that here."
Yeah,
And I
having
did.
pride in how you show up
Yeah,
and
but
to
I'm
the world.
going back to it. I keep saying, I'm going
Yeah,
back to being me,
right. Do what
you
makes you
know?
confident.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I will get back there. I'm working on that too. But yeah, no, just hope. That's all.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much, Gary
Oh, you're
Tree,
welcome.
for being so generous with your time and sharing your story. And you've contributed so much to the arts and music across the globe. And so we really want to thank you for your contributions to the culture.
Yeah.
And we hope you feel the love from community because I know you're so cherished. And like you said, we need to take care of you while you're here. And so
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
no,
hope you continue to feel that.
eh, because everything that you get from me,
Mhm.
you're gonna get unconditionally.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am.
Mhm.
you know. But I make it clear that because there are people not like you all that want to just take advantage and take no,
Yeah.
no, it's
And
just not
extract
gonna.
from the
You're not
culture.
gonna do that this time.
Yeah. Right.
You know.
Right. We have to reinvest in the culture.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you do it, I want to see it going towards generations to come
To help others. Yeah,
to
like
help
us.
others, and that's
Yeah.
the main purpose. That's what
Exactly.
you all have to look at the bigger picture.
Yep. Yep. It's
How
bigger
you
than
want if
us.
you have sisters and brothers,
Yeah.
how you want them to come into this and identify.
Yeah.
Other cultures always have that set up for their families.
Yep.
We need to go back to setting that up for
Yep.
ourselves.
And
Mm,
preparing ourselves to be successful over generations, not just
Exactly,
for ourselves while we're here. And we want to make
exactly.
sure we have that generational wealth that
Yeah,
not just wealth in terms of assets, but wealth in terms of
mhm.
spirit and in terms of that connectedness, like you said. So
And see, you
phenomenal.
understand that very well.
thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's by
Oh, you
talking to people
understand
like
what I'm
you.
saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's why we created this, it's like literally
yeah.
to do what you're sharing is it talking about getting back to being together, right? And to
Oh, yeah.
reinvesting in the community and we got to do it through solidarity. So,
And we have to do that,
yeah.
and there is the last part of this is that African Americans have to remember they were born
Yeah.
on American soil,
Yep.
Yeah.
but they have to remember that ancestry comes
Yep.
from the Africans,
Yep.
and that together we both identify with the same things. We just need to
Yeah.
talk to each other.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
See,
We
and
got to
that's
get
all.
together.
And me having background
Mhm.
with Africans
Yeah.
have been great
Mhm.
because I've dated Ethiopian women. I've dated women outside of my race
Yeah.
that were that also. But I'm just saying, as a whole,
Mhm.
with our DNA being the way it is, we
Yeah.
need to sit down and
Yeah.
have lunch
Yep. Yep.
because there's going to be good, bad in both sides.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we have to define where the middle ground is going to be. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing I see that's lacking.
Mhm. And yeah, we're doing it, now, and so I hope that, you'll continue obviously to be a part of our community, and we want to continue to get outside of, the Zoom calls and things, so we always try our
Mhm.
best to be intentional about that. Once we have the
Well,
resources, to keep growing it. So,
well, we figure out a way, all of us,
yeah,
to
we
have
figure it out.
something that
Always.
brings the cultures together.
And we always have. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
and where we can really talk and
Right.
I can speak to both sides
Yeah.
and be helpful
Mhm.
and speaking because look, where I'm going now, I'm gonna say what I have to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and
Right.
you may not always understand it, but you will if you give it time.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thanks so much again. I don't have any other questions for you, but I just have really loved this conversation. Truly, this has been a great way to start my Sunday, and I'm super excited to see you out, in the community and come to your performance. Hopefully on the 14th. I would check my
Yeah,
schedule and try to
and
make it.
check
Yeah.
with Oval
Yeah,
because Gavin may have me there before
right.
because I've been building that coffee
Moving
shop
around. Yeah.
in the one in the U district, so
Okay.
I may be there,
Cool.
you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
and I've heard of that coffee shop. I need to go. It's Oval, you said, right?
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
47th.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, right in
Awesome.
the U district.
That's great.
Well,
If you don't know Brad, that's where it is.
Cool.
awesome. Well, I'll definitely keep in touch with you because I need to see you
Yeah.
perform. I don't have a Valentine, so I should be free on Valentine's
Brad will
Day.
be my
But
Valentine.
yeah, well, maybe we'll come and see you. But
Yeah.
if you're performing before, we'll definitely come see you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and
Oh, you're
I
very
also love how
welcome.
you speak to artists needing to be compensated for their work. And so,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that's something that you're getting to.
Oh,
And
I'm an
equitably.
advocate for that, so it's
Oh,
gonna get
definitely.
there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because when I mentioned Dave Lewis, I wasn't old enough to work with him, but I
Yeah.
made great money. I had an apartment.
It's
He took
awesome.
care of us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is how it should
And
be.
his brother
Yeah.
owned Paramount Northwest.
Wow.
Yeah, see,
Wow. That's
that's a
wild.
conversation
I didn't
people
even know
don't know
that.
about. Oh, yeah.
That's so, and that's what we got to talk more because
Oh,
that's really
yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah,
And
there's so much that's hidden
yeah,
that
that's
I
hidden
can tell you
history.
about this community.
Yeah, and that we've been here. People forget Seattle.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a Black community here for so long, but we've been pushed out because of the
Oh, yeah.
gentrification. But it's like, I didn't even know that someone had, who
Oh,
was
yeah.
Black owned Paramount. Like, that's so wild.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet other people don't either.
Oh, yeah. Dave Lewis had a club. You knew
Wow.
about Paramount Northwest.
I'm looking up Dave Lewis after this. I
Yeah.
have a whole list of the resources you shared today, so I'll be doing research.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been writing stuff down.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's okay. You can call me and I can get more information.
I love it. We will. Thanks so much. We're so excited for people to hear this. And this was special for me because I actually really love jazz music. I don't have a lot
Mhm.
of friends that like it. So I'm excited to come see you play.
Well, I
And yeah,
gave you the two to
yeah,
start with. Start with
yeah,
Not a Good
the
Thing Going
greats.
On by John Patton, and then
Yeah.
Streets of Dream by Grant Green. And they
Okay.
collaborated,
Yeah.
and on one record, Grant has got Larry
Okay.
Young on organ, and on the other one, he's got
Yeah.
John. But see,
Cool.
the key to John brought Blue Note Records, the
Yeah.
jazz label, their first big hit.
Wow.
Patton.
That's
And that
amazing.
was
Yeah.
a tune that he wrote a blues called Funky Mama. That was a big
Cool.
hit for
Yeah.
John,
I have
for that
homework to
label.
do.
So I
Yeah.
put the label it put Alfred Lyons them
Yeah.
on yeah, because that label,
Wow.
I'll be quick with this.
No,
That
you're good.
label was considered a label that was dysfunctional because it was
Oh.
African Americans.
Mm.
Wow.
But it
That's
became
wild.
one of the major labels. But if you look
Yep.
now, there's none of us on it. But if you go
Wow.
back and
That's
check the
devastating.
history,
We started it.
you'll see
Of
that it was
course.
all of us and maybe a few
Yeah.
people that don't look like us.
Right. Right. And that seems
So
to be
you
how
see
it
what I'm
always
saying?
is. Yeah.
And
Right.
they
Right.
all laughed at Alfred Lyons and told him that he was crazy
Yep.
and called it the N word, called the label the N word.
Wow. It seems like the people that get told they're crazy are the most successful. So maybe that's a key for our listeners. If people are telling you you're crazy, keep going.
Oh yeah.
You'll make
No,
it.
I mean, and it's so I did the 50-year anniversary for him,
Wow. That's so
with
cool.
Gracia Mancour III.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that label in its entirety,
Yeah.
it is not the same thing that it was. But if you go back and look at the catalog and you look at all the great recordings that came out of there, and you
Yeah.
see and start looking at who was on those recordings,
Mhm.
you'll start thinking, wow, we had all this.
It was us.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Gary, yeah, you're amazing. So thank you.
Oh, you're
This is
welcome.
great.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay, well, we hope you have a good rest of your Sunday and weekend.
I will.
Emma.
I've got to get to the studio. I'm
Okay.
finishing this documentary, so I got to do
Oh,
that next.
cool. Hey, let us
Nice.
know when it's ready. We want to watch it. I love documentaries too, so
Okay, yeah, it's about me,
about you.
about
Yeah.
the area, so
I
it's
love
about
Nice. Okay. Great. Well, maybe
okay,
we'll do another special episode on it once it's ready.
okay,
Cool. All right, well, have fun, Gary.
Thank
Talk
you
to you
okay.
so
soon.
much, Gary. We appreciate you.
You too. I
Bye.
appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We deeply appreciate your support as we work to uplift the Black community and explore our unique experiences within the Black diaspora on Identity Unboxed.
Authenticity is your guide to cast an impact on the world that you will be proud of. Signing off with pride, Tiana.
And Brad.
Thank you so much.